happy that everyone.
We're still waiting for one commissioner
Okay, gotcha.
quorum to have a quorum.
Okay, gotcha. All
There we
right.
go.
All right. Well, I am going to turn it over to you, Commissioner Shalimar Thomas.
Sounds great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to today's Philadelphia Commission of Human Relations public session. Taking place, for the record, it's taking place today, July 21st, 2023. Oh, it's going to be a long morning, y'all. I'm just letting you know. Can we start with the meeting? Can we start the meeting with the approval of the meeting minutes? Were there any corrections? All right, it doesn't look like it, so no corrections noted. I move that we accept the minutes and they are submitted into the record. The next up on the agenda are the cases recommended for closing. Please note I'll ask for recusals after I've read the cases. All right, the cases recommended for closing for the month of July are as follows. Under employment, we have Chance De Silva versus Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, Tyrell McCoy versus City of Philadelphia, Lindsay M. Lux versus School District of Philadelphia, Shawmar A. Pitts versus Philadelphia Water Department, Catherine J. Cole versus Trustees of the University of Pennsylvania, Logan Spencer R. Smith-Myricks versus University of Pennsylvania, Tiffany Archangel versus United Parcel Services Incorporated, Evelyn Sample Oates versus the School District of Philadelphia, Sharon D. Chapman versus Pyramid Healthcare, Nicole F. Cooper versus Jason Ruavthenko. I promise I practiced that before we came on today. I just still couldn't get it. Jennifer Matthews versus Pennsylvania Surgery and Laser Center. Sean T. Turner versus Five Guys Burgers and Fries Restaurant. Under housing, we have Jeffrey Holden versus PMC Property Group. Under public accommodation, we have Michael Lobianco versus Thomas Jefferson University Hospital. Under Ban the Box, we have Tiffany Archangel versus United Parcel Services Incorporated, James Johnson versus Avis Budget Car Rental LLC. We did have an employment addendum to include, which is Danica Moore Young versus Philadelphia Fight, and a motion for consideration to close, which is Larry Parrott versus Amazon Incorporated.
May I jump in just on that last one, just so the record is clear?
Yes.
It's a motion to reconsider. So we just put that on the record that it's a motion to reconsider that will be approved and granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Shalimar, Commissioner
Yeah.
Thomas, can you just refresh my memory on the process for recusals for this meeting? I do want to have a potential conflict.
All you have to do is recuse yourself from the case number. So you could just say you're recusing your case from case number. And
okay, so I'm going to recuse. I don't have the case number in front of me, but Evelyn Temple Oates versus the School District of Philadelphia.
Got it. And I think that's case number 8.
Thank you.
And I have to make the same recusal on case number 8. Any other recusals?
I need to recuse myself from the 2 cases involving the University of Pennsylvania.
Five.
There are 2, so it's 4 and 5 or 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other recusals? All right. Recusals have been noted. Can I have a motion to accept the cases? I see the motion made by Commissioner Ho. Can I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Ricks. All in favor? Awesome. The cases for the month of July have been accepted. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Kia, for her report.
Thank you, Shalimar, and welcome to our guests. After my report, we will allow any questions or comments that you may have. I will first start with the legislative update. On June 22nd, City Council passed a bill amending the verification of life partnerships ordinance. They removed the gender-specific language, opening it up to all couples who seek to have a life partnership. In another about 10 days or so, that process will be transitioned over to the Register of Wills office, who also handles marriages and recording of other life-altering partnerships, for lack of a better word. Moving on to compliance. On July 11th, Deputy Director Pamela Gwaltney and Attorney Karen Foreman conducted a virtual training for a high-profile respondent in a probable cause matter that was a condition of the conciliation agreement. This month, happy to report that Deputy Director Pamela Gwaltney has conducted conciliation sessions in 4 cases. One was a successful conciliation, which garnered about $15,000 in damages for the complainants. One is pending, and there are 2 matters that will be pushed forward for a public hearing. Our newest compliance investigators attended a 3-day training with the EEOC, and their onboarding process is moving along smoothly. In terms of community engagement, prevention, and education highlights, HR Representative Carlos Aviles Marcano has been working with community groups and leaders in Huntington Park to educate them on how to get speed bumps installed after numerous complaints about unsafe traffic conditions. On July 15th, HR Representative Shanice Drinks provided information regarding PCHR's services at the Northeast Philadelphia Chinese Association. In terms of conflict responses, after a mass shooting in Southwest Philadelphia on July 3rd, HR Representative Tiara Thompson reached out to the 12th Police District to work with them and other government partners on trauma-informed care and services that were made available to the community. In addition, one of the families that was impacted was a refugee family. And so Boone Rat-Math, HR Representative Boone Rat-Math, attended the vigil honoring that local family, and as well as another refugee family who was killed in Virginia due to gun violence, providing comfort to them as speaking on his personal experiences. Deputy Director Randy Duque will meet with the family to offer additional victim services and connecting them to resources available for refugees. Other noteworthy events for this reporting cycle. On June 21st, PCHR convened the Philadelphia Interagency Civil Rights Task Force. That task force, for those who don't know, is a gathering of local government, law enforcement, and community partners who share on their respective work as it relates to hate and bias incidents, also various topics and initiatives going on in the civil rights and community building sphere. On June 22nd, Deputy Director Randy Duque joined a small team of local and state law enforcement partners in Germany at the Gustav Stresemann Institute. And the goal of the program was to help develop new approaches to improving community police relations. On July 11th, PCHR leadership was honored to present information on anti-discrimination protections afforded under the Fair Practices Ordinance. And we highlighted the scope of our community relations work to international students from Temple University's Dialogue Institute. On July 19th, Deputy Director Pamela Gwaltney represented the agency at the Philadelphia Ceasefire launch party of Stronger Together, which is a public health violence intervention program who received funding to do additional work in the 14th and 35th Police District. PCHR participates on their weekly calls for community partners as we look to address gun violence in a holistic way. On July 20th, which was yesterday, I'm very excited to share that PCHR attorney Karen Foreman, along with our other members of the racial equity cohort, including Boone Rat Mott, Alexandra Williams. Alexandra Williams, and at one point, another HR rep who left, participated in a 9-month program that would identify issues and barriers for our outreach to the BIPOC community. And we are excited to share that they looked at the data, particularly data that was reflective of those who did not speak English or a limited proficiency English, and identified root causes to engaging that community. And so over the next few months, we will be taking steps that were suggested through the cohort to engage the community, including changing our materials that we use for public outreach, changing our website. We will have a communications director starting very shortly. And so we hope to use the blueprint that they created as a roadmap for our communications person as they onboard. Hopefully I didn't leave out anything. I went over it very briefly, but we are honored to have Karen have done that work. So thank you, Karen, for that. Yes. In the upcoming reporting period, July 25th through 27th, PCHR's leadership, particularly the compliance team and supervisors, will attend the 2023 EEOC FIPA conference in Baltimore, Maryland. This year's conference will focus on advancing equity, resilience, and mental health in the workplace. And then August 13th through the 17th, PCHR leadership and some supervisors and other team members will attend the 2023 IORA conference in North Bethesda, Maryland. IORA is a national organization that seeks to enhance and promote civil rights issues. This year's conference theme is embracing truth and healing, securing equity and justice for all. And so we're excited to engage in that conference, engage with others in that conference. In terms of hate bias incidents, this month there were 11 incidents reported to us. Most of those incidents centered on race, religion, or anti-LGBTQ bias. Here is a quick summary of what we received. In terms of racial and ethnic bias incidents, there was an incident involving an Asian American who got into a verbal altercation with a driver of a vehicle who was double parked in the middle of their block. The person began yelling anti-Asian slurs at the individual. There was also anti-Black racist flyer found posted in front of a Black-owned business in Mount Airy. There were anti-Black stickers on the SEPTA bus. The SEPTA bus driver rather was called the N-word by an unknown person who boarded the bus and threatened to assault the driver and passengers. There were also anti-Semitic and racial slurs and swastikas found drawn on the equipment box at a local recreation center. And finally, in terms of racial bias incidents, there were 2 homeless people sleeping in an abandoned home, and they were attacked by another homeless person with a weapon. And the person threatened the complainants, yelling anti-white slurs and calling them the B word. The offender, thankfully, was later arrested. In terms of religious incidents, there was a rabbi walking down the street with his toddler, and he was followed by an unknown person who was yelling anti-Semitic insults and slurs at them. And then there was also a person who claimed to be Muslim, threatened to cut the throats of a woman while wielding a knife, and stating that he was going to kill all the Jews and blow up a church. He was later arrested as well. And then we have several anti-LGBTQIA+ incidents that were reported for this month. There was a person who made derogatory comments and threatened a complainant using the F word. A trans woman was repeatedly harassed by her mother and sibling about her gender. And then we received a complaint regarding a woman who was called a D word and also B word by her partner's family or ex, and that the person threatened physical violence against her. For all of these incidents, our team has made contact with the police department as necessary and the victims to ensure that they have the support that they need and that they're connected to resources to respond to these incidents. Year to date, we have had about 58 incidents reported to us, and 55 of them were confirmed and 3 of them were unconfirmed. That concludes my report for this month. If there are any questions or comments, you may feel free to ask them.
Two questions. One question is, what do you do to follow up on the reports, just so people have some understanding of that? And then the second question I have is whether we do or can do some outreach when children are caught in the crossfire and wind up victims of gun violence. There was a report in the Inquirer yesterday about the community's response to the death of a young child who was treated as the mayor of the community, and the absence of response from elected officials. And to the same extent that we do some sort of outreach with regard to our refugee families, I'm wondering if we couldn't have at least a letter or some recognition of the loss and condolences, not only to the family of the child, but also to the community, because the community knows these children, because children have a way of being important members of the community under the watchful eye of the grannies and the aunts and whatnot. So if we could come up with something, unfortunately there are too many of these cases. It's unbelievable how many kids have been impacted. So those are my 2 points.
So I just wanted to say to your first point, with regard to the incidents of hate and bias that are reported to us, when we receive those complaints or those incidents are reported to us, we have our community relations staff folk go out and make contact with the victims just to make sure, if they haven't already reported the incident to police, if it's criminal in nature, that they do that, and also make sure that if there are any support services that they require through the city, that they're connected to those resources. We also track the incidents just to determine if there are any trends. And as you well know, we are seeing a lot of incidents that center on anti-Blackness, religion, and anti-Semitic, to be clear, and also anti-LGBTQ. Those have been consistent throughout this year. And so what we do is when we meet with, for example, the Civil Rights Rapid Response Team, we're looking at ways that we can engage with our partners to make sure that they're also going out to the community, informing them of what they offer. That group includes the FBI, state police, local police, trusted community partners. And so in addition to what we do, we make sure that they're actively working on that as well. And then we do have the SEPTA partnership, where we have the billboards on the subway trains that talk about how to report hate to us so that we could be more of a resource to the public. So that's the one thing. Unfortunately, I think that some of these incidents do still go underreported. And we are really working to try and make sure that folks know that they can report those incidents to us. With regard to the gun violence point that you brought up, a very good point. We are on the city's rapid response to gun violence plan. So whenever there's an incident involving a school-aged youth, we have our community relations team members go out to the address and make contact with the family to find out if they need any additional support. We also make contact with the school to make sure that there isn't any underlying conflict that's brewing in the school, and offer our service for de-escalation, conflict resolution. We haven't yet engaged on sort of community mending in the wake of some of these incidents. On an individualized basis, we do have our community relations staff members in contact with block captains, working with rec center staff just to determine if there's a need for our services. And if so, we are certainly able to work in that capacity. Candidly, we only have 5 community relations staff people. And so sometimes we're not able to get to all of the different areas, but it's definitely something that we're keeping our eye on.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions or comments or updates from commissioners or our member of the public?
Peter, just for the record, your the work that you're doing in Hunting Park, is it Hunting Park or Huntington Park? I just want to make sure we have the right area on the record.
Yeah, Hunting Park.
Hunting Park.
Is Huntington Park really Hunting Park? Because I feel like
it's just Hunting Park, but it's I think it's a Philly thing for people to call it Huntington Park. Yeah.
So it is Huntington.
So
I grew up calling it Huntington Park. I grew up calling it Huntington Park, but it's really Hunting Park.
It is.
So those of us that grew up in Hunting Park, 8th and the Boulevard, and went to McClure for grade school, we call it Huntington Park. And there was this debate going around in the last week or so. But it is Hunting, Hunting Park.
Hunting Park, exactly.
Not to be confused with Huntingdon Street in North Philadelphia.
Right, exactly. That's still in Hunting Park.
Right.
Exactly. So there's that. Interestingly enough, we are also, as a commission, looking at the disparities that exist, racial disparities and socioeconomic disparities that exist in traffic fatalities and injuries. And so we're hoping over the next month or so to be able to provide a report and share with the public and the commission what we are working on in that regard. So this was right on target in terms of what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you so much for that update.
You're welcome. All right, I am going to turn it back over to you, Shalimar.
Thank you. And just as a heads up, Kia, we did get on a bit of a discussion on Facebook. Kareem, he joined us. He joined me in talking about the closures that are, still, 95 got fixed very fast, but you have a lot of closures to key neighborhoods on expressways that are still closed, and that's been closed for a very long time. I made a comment about the Kelly Drive exit to Hunting Park that's been closed for a very long time. And then someone else in a separate post made a comment about the exit off Broad Street onto Stiles Street that's been closed for a very long time. And then a few other people chimed in on other closures. And all of these closures are in predominantly low income Black and Brown communities. And so I did bring it up to the Inquirer. They are very interested in following up on the story. And if we can, I'll make sure I make a recommendation for them to speak to the PCHR to hear about the work that you're doing in this space.
Yeah, I also think it might be good to invite some folks from the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure to talk about their plans for reopening those roads in those communities. So maybe we can make that happen as well.
Kareem, I saw you came off and mute for a minute. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, I was just gonna totally agree with you. There's long lived in this perception about if it happens in a Black community, it will take years. But if it happens in Chestnut Hill, Westmont area, Manayunk, the far greater Northeast, it will happen overnight. And I'm excited to hear that the Daily News is interested, or the Inquirer is interested, but really looking at the data around that and how it impacts Black and Brown communities. Because in certain communities, so you think about Stiles Street, you think about Hunting Park off Kelly Drive, like those are key access points for people to get home, for people to get to work. And it's critical to have those access points accessible. And so I'm excited to hear that, we're looking into that.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. I apologize. I called you Kareem. It's just a friendly thing.
It's all good.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for your feedback. All right, with that said, thank you, Kia, and to your whole team for the fantastic work that you're doing. I second Commissioner Rick's comments in the comment section. It's really great work to see you in the neighborhoods and doing these various community and public events and getting the name out. I don't know if I shared this. It feels like deja vu, so sorry if I did share this, and I'm sharing it again. But a neighbor, someone in my neighborhood, they experienced a issue with a hate crime issue. And I reached out to them and just let them know that the PCHR, I told them about the PCHR, and they already knew about the organization. And so, that speaks volumes to the work that you guys are doing in this space, that, community members do know who to call when they have these unfortunate issues. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, our next meetings will take place in August. The executive session is scheduled to take place August 11th, and the public session will be held on August 18th, 2023. Readers for the month of August are Commissioners Kareem Thomas, Alpert, Austin, and Loren. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? I see it, Commissioner Ho, and I saw Commissioner Rick's hand go up, so I'll take that as the first and second. All in favor? Thank you. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Have a fantastic weekend.
All right, everyone. Take care.